What's up, guys? Today we're going to be talking about Neon Genesis Evangelion. Now, this is a show that came out back in 1995, and the original series had 26 episodes, but the ending of it was a little confusing for some of the viewers, so the creators of the show came out with another ending in the movie called The End of Evangelion about a year later, and there were some other movies too called The Death and Rebirth of Evangelion, but for the main purpose we're going to be talking about the show and the movie The End of Evangelion. That's the main timeline. And this is a mecha anime, so it's the mecha genre of, oh no, these giant aliens are coming to attack the world. We need to fight back with them with giant robots. And at its core, that's what it is. It's an anime about giant robots that are fighting aliens. But when you look under that, there's a bunch of different themes about these characters that are scared to get close to each other and their fear of connection and themes of depression throughout the show. So let's get into it. Now, if you've watched any other mecha anime like Gundam, for example, you would know that the pilots who pilot these giant robots love the fame and fortune and the spotlight that comes with being a pilot. But in Neon Genesis Evangelion, the main character and main pilot, Shinji Ikari, does not want this. He does not want the spotlight. In fact, he is oftentimes traumatized when he's in a battle in this giant robot because he's only there for validation from his peers and from the leader of this organization who he fights for, which is also his father. We see this in episode 19 as well. He gets into a fight with one of the angels, one of the giant monsters, and it's actually traumatic for him. He has a breakdown mid-scene in the fight. Now, there are other pilots in Neon Genesis Evangelion that have other character flaws as well, such as Asuka, who's a young girl, another pilot from Germany. She was abandoned by her parents when she was a young girl and has this sense of arrogance about her because she does not approve of herself, so she's trying to get that approval from other people around her. I refer to these character flaws in these characters, but in reality, it's more like they're the symptoms of the trauma in each of these characters that are shown. And certain episodes, like episode 16 and episode 25, dive deeper into this, and they show how the mechs and the Avas that they're piloting are a reflection of these characters in their own separate ways, and how Asuka has her trauma and Shinji has his, and the same with another pilot, Rei Ayanami. But it's also very important to know that the creator of this show, Neon Genesis Evangelion, the creator Hideki Anno, struggled with anxiety and depression and these very harsh emotions, and the same way that the characters are related to their mechs, the entire show is related to its creator, which dealt with this in interviews where he says, "This show isn't about fighting monsters, it's about your struggle to fight with yourself." And at its core, Neon Genesis Evangelion is a show which walks the line between the intense spectrum of these emotions, between isolation and intimacy with another person. Like Shinji, he craves connection and he craves the approval of all these people, but he's also terrified of being rejected and being said no. Now, this is where the Human Instrumentality Project comes into play. This is the final conflict in the show where the higher-ups, the elites of the program for Evangelion want to dissolve all the consciousness of the humans together because they believe that they are at a higher calling to the angels. And this provides the answer to Shinji that it will break the barriers between all the individuals and make them into one consciousness. But he realizes that even if this is what he wants, it's not the correct thing. And Shinji eventually realizes this and rejects the Human Instrumentality Project. And he was the final part of the plan, so the plan wasn't fully successful. It took over some, but the opportunity Shinji provided allowed others to realize their individuality again. This ending is slightly confusing to most viewers, which is why the End of Evangelion movie was released a year later to provide more context in a physical fight instead of the mental battle the characters went through. Now, the mecha genre always has a large, great display of power, and that's what the viewers come to see. But the non-conventional aspect which Neon Genesis Evangelion did is instead of displaying the great power of their characters and their mechs, they displayed the trauma and psychological issues which their characters came over in this show. Hideki Anno's choice to provide the characters with a mental and psychological conflict as well as the physical was against the grain of what other animes were doing in the 90s and has stood the test of time to be even more relatable today, and some would even say revolutionary.